Yes, sir. Mr. Jefferson, you sent Mr. Lewis and Clark on an expedition and received their report. And I'm wondering what you thought about the future of our country when you read that report.
I must comment, I've noticed that this room is imbued with the power of time travel.
And I enjoy that as a scientist.
What is this Louisiana?
This is the territory west of the Mississippi River, sir, and I might say that having the opportunity, first commissioning the expedition to be a military reconnaissance, since we were denied laissez-faire commerce on the Mississippi River by Spain denying us the right of deposit, we desired to open another artery of commerce by way of the Missouri River, that might cut its way through the Stony Mountains and connect with the Great Western Ocean. At the time that the expedition was set forth, we then learned of the opportunity to acquire not only the control of the Mississippi River through the purchase of the island of New Orleans, but also as well 830,000 square miles west of the Mississippi River that would provide us a new empire of liberty, sir, thereby ascertaining the facts, if you will, of what lay west of the Mississippi River was necessary for our future settlement, particularly the settlement of farmers to the 100th and 1000th generations yet to come, and particularly the quell of the divisiveness of those politics lying east of the Appalachian Mountains, particularly upon the subject of the support of a system of labor in the form of slavery, that all of this might be ameliorated by the carving out of new states west of the Mississippi River. Now, that is the political regard that I hold for it, outside of the fact that over 150 varieties of flora were discovered there, never seen before by the eyes east of the Appalachian, and over 175 variety of fauna, animal life never seen before. Now, I lament we did not discover any great woolly mammoth stalking the plains, nor did we discover any blonde-haired, blue-eyed Indians thought to reside westwards, nor any of the one of the 10 still extant tribes of Israel meandering out west.
Yeah, I must say,
Sorry now that you asked that question.
well, I have never known Mr. Jefferson to be a great public speaker, owing to his stuttering, his natural reticence, and his high-pitched, squeaky voice. But I have always admired his skill and gift in writing. But Mr. Jefferson, perhaps you can comment on the rumors that you are now abandoning the pen, leaving your quill behind, and relying on some new contraption known as a teleprompter?
You see none before me, Henry. This is native from my mother wit.
What would General Washington say about that?
His Excellency Washington.
His Excellency. Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, I've heard a lot of pandering talk about the wisdom of the people. But if you're so taken up with their wisdom, why did you call for the Senate or the legislatures to elect the Senate? Why did you provide for the lifetime appointment of the judiciary in the federal system? Why do you have all of these checks on the wisdom of the people?
Now, before either one of you three answer that, let me make it clear that I, Benjamin Franklin, was the only person among us four present at the Constitutional Convention. And I opposed this very regulation. But, you know, I came to the conclusion that at some point in our lives, during the constitutional debates, that all of us should doubt our infallibility and join together and sign this great document, which we did. And we have been a most prosperous and happy nation since then. In other words, stop your bickering. Now, young lady, I understand you have a question, or would you like a photo op? I would certainly like a photo op.
I understand that for the citizens to maintain the blessings of a republic, the citizens must be good stewards of said republic. And to do so, one must have a good education. However, with your ideas in mind, who ought to decide what a good education is? Who dictates what is going to be taught and how it is going to be taught.
The lady inquiring, as I consider the future of our nation to be vested in an enlightened citizenry, well-educated citizenry, then who should be responsible? Whom should be those who provide the standards of a system of education? I have already proposed this in a report on education, 1773, requested of me by the last Royal Governor of Virginia, John Murray, the Earl of Dunmore, not only to improve the curriculum at William and Mary by adding 4 new schools there beyond the 4 already existing, but also to suggest a system of schoolhouses built all throughout Virginia, providing a common education under the poor as well as the wealthy, the female as well as the male. That the systems and standards of education would be agreed upon by boards of educators elected directly by the citizenry themselves. So you see that the standards of education then emanate from the citizen body, and that I would care to provide for a universal system throughout our nation accordingly, that the people ever have a hold on that standard of education.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the time in which we must decide who has won this debate. So by a show of hands.
Well, now, Doctor, I think we should will you agree, Henry, and Mr. Adams as well, that we should follow the requisites of citizenship in regard to those who, as we know, hold the franchise. So will you allow, Doctor? All gentlemen stand up. All gentlemen stand up. Ladies, you may remain seated. Now, gentlemen, of those who are standing, you must follow the criteria. First and foremost, anyone of color. Any gentleman of color? Be seated. Be seated, sir, even pointing that black box at me. This is a requisite of the franchise. All gentlemen of color must... But now, sir, this is not to say that it's open for improvement, but at present, all gentlemen of color must be seated. Now then, those who are standing must be 21 years of age or older. You must be white. And you must have the following requisites in property. First, either 50 acres unimproved. Or, no, either. There are 3 more, or 2 more. Either 50 acres unimproved, 40 acres with a dwelling upon it. The dwelling must be at least 12 foot square, or a lot within a recognized corporate municipality, such as Philadelphia, such as Boston, any city that is a corporate municipality. You must hold a lot, and gentlemen, these requisites of property require indeed that you must be freeholders. You cannot be mortgaged. Their citizens is the electorate of our nation.
Those who are still standing, please sit down. We're going to have the rest of you stand and vote. By a show of hands, how many of you support the proposition of Mr. Patrick Henry that the Constitution should not have been adopted by the United States? Show of hands. Arrest them all! And those of you who think Mr. Jefferson's support of the Constitution deserves your support, raise your hand. Very good. Now, since I do have a bit of news that I think is of value, and I believe this can unify all 4 of us if we could please all come up. And I believe we can join hands together, because was it not true that at the end of the lives of every one of these men up here, they were supporters of the United States Constitution, including Mr. Patrick Henry?